Performing a long rest in Dungeons & Dragons is a mechanical process that heals your wounds, restores spell slots, and generally gives you resources back. This is an important part of the gameplay loop for obvious reasons, and I've seen plenty of parties trying to reach to squeeze one in when it's probably not appropriate. If you have this problem at your table, you could probably try changing what a long rest actually means. Hey there folks, Wrel here. Today we're going to be talking about long rest in Dungeons & Dragons and how to turn it into a more compelling mechanic for your home game. The player's handbook considers long rest at least 8 hours of extended downtime, 6 of which the character needs to be sleeping for. 2 of those hours can be spent doing light activity and is interrupted by an hour of strenuous activity like walking, fighting, casting spells, or similar adventure activities. So to pause on that last point, is an hour of walking equivalent to an hour of fighting? I don't know. Stipulations are a little bit weird, so let's continue. At the end of a long rest, a character regains all of their health, and they get half of their total hit dice back. A character must have at least 1 hit point at the start of the rest to gain its benefits. These are all really specific rules that are meant to create boundaries and help prevent people from overreaching. In my experience, though, it's highly table dependent, totally depends on the group that you're playing with. What if, instead of a long rest, we reframe it as a good meal with friends? So here's my take. At a day's end, it's customary to share a good meal with friends in relative safety. It's a time to tell stories, grow closer, and take stock of what you've accomplished so far. These quiet times help build or rebuild a party's morale, and each character does this by contributing to this event. Some examples of how a character can contribute are hunt for a game to make a fresh meal, share a story, song, or secret, stand watch while others sleep, practice a skill or learn about the area, or plan the next day's travel. If the party finds a safe place to conduct this downtime and all contribute in meaningful ways, they reap the benefits. By handling a long rest in this way, you set expectations a little bit differently. It requires relative safety, it focuses on a narrative aspect, that of camaraderie, and it requires everyone to contribute in some way. This sort of framework helps open the doors to roleplay without just saying, "What do you all talk about?" It asks a party to think about the things that their character would contribute given the situation. Maybe the bard says that they're going to play music for everybody. Maybe the ranger says that they're going to go get a couple rabbits for stew. Maybe the fighter wants to teach the cleric a few fighting techniques. And maybe the cleric says, "Please leave me alone, I'm talking with God." It's meant to feel like a downtime instead of a mechanical bump in the road. Granted, this is not going to work for every table. If your party is totally focused on combat, then pushing a narrative focus probably isn't going to do anyone any favors. However, if your party has been teetering on the edge of wanting to invest themselves more in that narrative side of the experience, then this can help break down some of the barriers. As a quick caveat to all this though, if you go by 5th edition rules, there's no way to get your hit die back unless you do a long rest. So you may want to make a good meal with friends less of a gateway, more of a reward for players. Normally, a long rest only gives you half of your hit die back. You could make a good meal with friends, give them all back to you. A lot of tables play this way already, so maybe you could also give them temporary hit points. Or if you want to make your setting a little bit more gritty, a little bit less heroic, you could always modify the base rules and say that a good meal with friends is the only thing that counts as a long rest, and everything else is a short rest. Regardless of the implementation, the rest of the downtime is pretty much assumed. Spell slots are going to come back, your martial classes are going to be recharged for the next day, and anytime that you've had significant off-screen time, it's assumed that you would have had a good meal with friends. Anywho, if you found this video interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel. And if you'd like to follow the TTRPG that I'm currently developing, which is Distal, a high fantasy D20 system, as an alternative to Dungeons & Dragons, with a greater focus on collaborative world building and character-driven narratives, then you can head over to playthisrpg.com and download the alpha rules for free, or join the Discord. Thanks very much, folks. Wrel signing off.